Chris. I'm happy to have you here with me today. And let's start with a short introduction. My name is Katya Gerlatova, and we're doing this series of interviews to showcase the specialists and professionals in AR, VR industry and share their story. And today, Chris Turnbull with me, and we will talk about him and his experience and his career path. And he will also hopefully share some insights in the industry. So Chris, welcome. Could you please share a little bit about yourself and where do you work, what do you do? And we will go from there.
Yeah, hi. So my name's Chris Turnbull. I'm currently working as the Industry 4.0 Technical Advisor for Tyne Metropolitan College. My current role has just changed. So I'm the 4.0 Industry Advisor. And that's basically what I'm trying to do is bring two of our departments together, which is IT and engineering, to help merge them together. So now I'll give you a little bit brief history of kind of where my background's from.
Yep.
I'm predominantly an engineer. So I started my career as a young apprentice at British Engines. I spent 4 years doing my higher apprenticeship there, and then I stayed on for another 4 years after that. So I ended up completing an HNC in mechanical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my background in engineering. I used a lot of heavy machinery, done a lot of programming. After that, I kind of went into a different area of engineering. So I went into design. So I was doing a lot of 3D modeling, measuring, simulations and testing. So that kind of got us into the 3D model aspect of things. After that, I started pursuing a career in teaching. Something that I found that I really enjoyed over my engineering time was training a lot of the apprentices. So I spent a few years doing some teaching, and that was predominantly teaching engineering. Because of me hobbies, I'm a very IT gamer person. I've always kind of been into the techie side of things, so I started bringing a lot of that into my teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started to get introduced to it was AR at first, and this was back in around about 2013, 2015, around about that time. And the first AR thing that I'd done was I had some students who are struggling to understand the 2D drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So to help them visualize that, I used a couple of apps that were out at the time to be able to scan that 2D drawing and turn it into a 3D object. So basically the students could get their phone out, download this app, hover over the 2D picture, and it would show them it in 3D. They could look around it, move it, manipulate it, enlarge it, that kind of thing. Like I say, this was back in 2015. And I really started to do a bit of research into it and look how else it could be used in education. So I went to kind of the management of the place where I was working at the time. I showed them. I said, "Look at this. I think this would be really engaging for the students." And unfortunately, I was shot down. They said they couldn't see it being a future prospect or something that would be used in the future. And boy, were they wrong. So, like I say, I didn't put it on hold. I was still doing things in the background in my own time. But it wasn't until a few years later when I came to work at Tyne Metropolitan College.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they picked up a lot of my skills. I started doing little bits for different units and then different departments. And then eventually we got some digital funding to start actually putting some big projects together. So at the minute, we've currently got some HoloLenses for AR,
Mm-hmm.
where we're using them and Dynamics 365 to create guides. And there's a video of that up on my LinkedIn, taking you through pretty much start to finish, creating a whole training program and how it would be used. We've started creating some VR training applications for some of our engineers. So, for example, we've got one with it's just a basic pump where they use a screwdriver to take some screws out, remove a panel, replace a fan, and put it back together. All with instructions, step by step, to take them through it. We have a basic welding simulator, which allows the students to practice welding, and it gives them some feedback based on how good they've done the welding. We also have some bolt torquing exercises as well. So this allows the students to use a few different pieces of equipment to tighten up bolts to certain torques. And kind of as for going forward, we're constantly going to be upgrading these projects, but we do have a lot of new ones kind of coming up. Some of the big stuff we do is we actually run a VR AR bootcamp at the moment, which is very, very popular with employers, and also people who are unemployed and trying to get a few of them skills on their CV to try and get into that industry. It's a little bit hard at the moment. In some of the creations that we've had from our first bootcamp that finished a few weeks ago has been absolutely amazing. These guys only had 12 weeks, and they're producing some content that it looks professional. It's engaging. I'm pretty sure there's a video again on me LinkedIn of some of their work. They put it together in like a little presentation so we could see everybody's work.
So it's essentially you creating the not full stack, but like real professional developers for AR or VR technology, whatever they choose, from scratch in 12 weeks. And they work on the projects. I think that's amazing. And if you could share a little bit more of how you pick this project, because essentially, I think the beauty of it is that bootcamp is somehow fits the needs of the university. So like whatever is being produced goes back to the teachers and to the classrooms. And could you share a little bit about the impact of that programming, how it changed overall the way students learn? Like, do you see the difference? Do you get the feedback from the university, from teachers?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we've only had one lot of content created so far from our boot camps, and we haven't started using it yet, but it is our plan. We have areas in the curriculum where we know we're going to fit them in. Some of our lecturers have used it, they had a shot of them and tested them, and they're amazed by it, especially when they realize that someone with no knowledge has created this in 12 weeks. In a lot of our teachers are now wanting this training as well so they can create their own. And I kind of think going forward, just being able to build up on all them, the amount of different lessons you can have built by other students to be used by students is amazing. I was in a meeting last week with Microsoft, and they had actually done some tests using AR and VR. I think it was around about this. It was around about 70% more efficient to train on a HoloLens is to actually do it hands-on. So they were talking about surgeons, and they actually had some focus groups. So they had one group who only actually worked on cadavers, and then another group who literally only done the work on a HoloLens. And they done a test, they all passed, and then 6 months later they tested them all again, and there was a 70% better off result for the ones that had used the HoloLens 6 months later. So I thought that was quite interesting. And because it's all very new stuff, until we start gathering a lot of that data, it's kind of hard to know exactly how it's going to affect things. Because I think we're still very much at the infancy of gathering that data.
Yeah, I feel like all over the world, people are trying to kind of create online campuses, and like there is this Verbella campus that there are a lot of events happening on, and some of them creating digital twins of the universities, and then there are classes happening in the actual classroom, but in virtual reality. So I think that's the interesting future for all the projects, and you're at the beginning of it, able
Yeah.
to shape and kind of create the rules. So that's the interesting part of it. Could you
Yeah, I
share?
mean, one thing we are looking at, I mean, you know, it's in the distant sort of future, but obviously with the metaverse coming about, is having our own campus metaverse, where, you know, you'd be able to even attend your lessons in virtual reality from home, or, you know, still walk around the college without actually leaving a room, that kind of thing, you know, and having activities in all the specific rooms in the college. But like I say, that's a sort of uh, future dream, if you like. Yeah, that's what we want to head for.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so with this boot camp, do you plan to add any additional specializations, or do you focus on like simulation creation and like, yeah, could you
So,
share
so for
that?
the for the boot camp, there's three main areas we focus on, because it's been advised by the government what we have to kind of deliver, and they said AR and emerging technology. So our key part is the AR, and then we also cover VR, obviously because it's very close to it.
Yeah.
One of the other emerging technologies we cover is RPA, which is robotic process automation, and that's all about getting a computer to do your sort of mundane everyday tasks, which can, again, it can help with AR and VR in terms of some of your workflows and things like that. In terms of what we plan to kind of develop, the AR is moving fast with Microsoft, so their HoloLenses. So we're going to be doing a lot more with the HoloLenses. But also in terms of the VR, we're going to be looking at getting some the words just totally went out of my mind now. Some lidar cameras, for some full 3D room scanning, which again helps us on our path to our metaverse. And being able to use them to you know, scan the college, go out and actually scan some work industry places, so like some of our local engineering places, so that the students can actually feel like they've been into a place like this. Whether it's just a static 360 3D image, or whether we get some 360 videos of things happening as well. But just really to immerse them as if they had actually been in a factory. And I mean, you know, because especially when we've been in lockdown for COVID, one of the big things was sort of work placements. People going out and visiting factories did not happen at all. You know, and even now after the COVID, even though it's still kind of, it's not totally gone, but we're a lot better off. A lot of companies are still a bit standoffish about bringing especially students in. So this way, kind of, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think that's amazing part that you touched like work placement and overall the effect of COVID, because a lot of companies worldwide, they are trying to adjust their policies in order to have as little people as possible on site, and overall create everything into the like online and essentially in virtual campuses, or like whenever works resume, like we are having the conversation now, or like do it remotely. So you shared at the beginning that your bootcamp is very popular with different companies, and they are willing to hire people from the bootcamp. Could you share like what is the percentage of people getting the jobs, and how you help them get into the new industry? So, and who are the people who go into the bootcamp?
Yeah, so for our boot camps, we so for example, our last cohort that we had, we anybody who's unemployed, we will get them a guaranteed interview. Okay. So, you know, we'll go out, we actually have another company who works with us, who goes out, makes sure we can find something that's relevant for them, and we prepare them for that interview as well. You know, so we'll give them some mock interviews, and then whether they take that job on or not, we'll still continue to support them to try and get a job. We do also get some people who come who are already employed. They just want to upskill, whether it's through their employer or through themselves. Their employer might have asked them to come and do it to get an idea of how this kind of technology could be used in industry, because that is something we focus on, different areas there that this technology can be used in. And then we get and then you also get the kind of the hobbyist as well, who's willing to fund it themselves. They're probably employed, might have nothing to do with a job, which we did actually have one of them on the last boot camp, and he actually ended up getting a job by himself. He went out there, wasn't really intending to look for a job in that area, and just happened to get himself a designer job. So it's kind of a mixed bag at the moment, but we've had a lot after the first boot camp, and some videos and media going out about them. We've had a big interest from a lot of local companies, again, kind of wanting to understand how maybe that can help them in industry. So I think over the next year of delivering our boot camps, we're probably going to see I would imagine we're going to see a lot of employed people sent by their companies to upskill.
That's amazing. Maybe some of them will come back to kind of share their experience and teach their like the following generations of so that's an amazing, like, you know, circle of life, if you will, like for people starting from boot camp, going to the companies and then coming back, and also they create videos and useful projects for the university that can also be used to educate other people. So I think that's a lot of things that get in touch with education. And so, one more thing I wanted to talk about is the future. So what do you see in the future specifically for you and where you going next? And you obviously continue working with the boot camps. And so if you could share a little bit about the projects that you're planning to do, and so where are you going?
Yeah, so the boot camps will continue for at least the next year. We've got government funding to do them all the way up till July next year. We're also doing a whole other range of boot camps as well that I'll be running. So we've also got cloud computing technology, because that's a massive thing at the minute, an IT solutions project, which is starting next month. So there's a few bootcamp projects going on there, all to do with the sort of digital side. Networking, and this is kind of a big project because of the new qualifications that are coming in, the higher technical qualifications. We're building a state-of-the-art networking lab, and it's my intentions to use a lot of the AR to facilitate a lot of the training. So it'll kind of be, instead of a teacher just kind of standing at the front telling you about this plug or this switch or whatever, you're going to have a set of HoloLenses on. The piece of equipment is going to be in front of you, and the HoloLens is going to kind of tell you what to do. Obviously, you know, you'll still have your teacher there for questions and backup and stuff like that. But that's the kind of future I see for our college, and how I'd like to deliver things like that. Because the best bit is without having to disturb anybody else, you can rewind that and do that bit again. You know, you don't have to go ask the teacher, what was that switch about, or what's this cable for? You can just flick back in the HoloLens, go back through it again. You haven't had to disturb the rest of the class. You know, and that's the way I see going forward. In terms of the kind of future of these kind of technologies, we're massively just at the beginning. You know, although VR has been, well, I think I got my first VR headset in 2012, which was the Oculus Dev Kit 1. And even now, 10 years later, I still think we're right at the beginning. We've got a lot further to go. With the announcement of Apple's AR VR headset coming in a couple of years' time, that looks amazing. I just can't wait to see some of the future technologies, and how figuring out how we can use it in education.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most. So when AR VR started to be popular, a lot of people were talking about metaverse, like crazy people buying real estate because everyone couldn't. It's hard to understand how you can buy virtual real estate, stuff like that. But education, which is the hugest, for me, it's like the huge part of this whole thing ever happening, is kind of got out of the discussion in most cases. And I'm happy to see that a lot of people, like more and more people, they talk about the importance of education and how the future of universities can be redefined and can be kind of rewritten. And essentially, you're talking about the future, like we obviously know this Apple glasses are coming in, and like a lot of other companies, they're updating, making them lighter, more affordable, more precise, I would say. So there potentially would be no cable needed in order to kind of get this like big, good quality picture and things like that. So it amazes me how education sometimes is taken out of this conversation, but still being a huge part. And so I'm happy to learn that universities forward. Yeah.
I totally agree with you, and I think that's one of the bigger problems why it's not going as fast as I think it could be, is because there's no education really. You can't go get a certificate or a diploma or anything in VR. The closest you can get to it is kind of a designer, or here in the UK anyway. And that there's a big gap in education, and that's kind of what I'm trying to push, is getting a lot of our younger apprentices and students just knowing about this software. For when they go in, because to be honest, most of the people I show a lot of this stuff to, they've never seen anything like it before. They didn't even know it exists. And that's if unless we start educating some of the younger learners, then I think it'll struggle to get into this industry. So I think more education in this area is definitely needed.
Yeah, I agree. So one last thing, would you recommend or say to the person who just want to start in AR VR industry overall and is trying to find their path? Like, could you have a couple of words of wisdom to the person just starting in this industry?
I would definitely say, because there's no qualifications out there, experience, and even if it's not proper work experience, creating your own portfolio, showing, and that's a big thing in our boot camps. Everything that you do in the lessons, you put into a portfolio to show a prospective employer. So, even when you're just messing around, practicing, save all your work, keep it all in an area, maybe make a website with it all on or something. But yeah, keep a hold of all your work and display it, even if you think it's not that great, somebody else might.